Once your IntelliJ is up, you can actually go to File, click on New, and click on Project. Okay. Once you click on Project, you're going to see something called as Maven here. Okay, and it will also show you some predefined whatever SDK, whatever JDK you've installed, it will show you there. If you install JDK 1.8, it will going to show you with JDK 1.8. I have already installed 15th, the latest version, actually, which is I think right now 16, but I have installed it a few days back, so it is showing me as 15. Once you have that, don't do anything strange here, don't do these things, just keep it as it is. Click on next. Then here give the name as name of the project. So let's say I'm saying my first Maven project. Click on finish. I'll click on new window, so it can open multiple windows. So this is one window which is already there, then I have new window as well here. So you in IntelliJ you can open multiple windows. Same you can do in Eclipse also, but I have opened this as a new window. But if you're doing it for the first time, it will not give you that message, it will just open up the new project. So once I create the new project, there are few files which will be automatically created. Now this is a file called as IML file. This is not a project related file, actually this is a file which IntelliJ has added, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Then there is a folder called as .idea, again a folder which IntelliJ has created, so you don't have to worry too much about this as well. There are two files, or rather one file and one folder which is of interest here, which is src, and second is pom.xml. pom.xml, the full name for this is project object model. This is what Maven, this is the central idea of Maven, that is, I want to manage all aspects of a project using a XML file. And XML file here acts as a configuration file. So what you see right now is a pom.xml file, or project object model XML file, which is a central idea behind Maven. Okay, so this session is not about Maven, so I'm not going to go into details of how Maven works. For Maven, how Maven works, we're going to have some other sessions someday, but not today. Today all I'm trying to tell you, and what you would should be understanding from whatever I'm telling you, is how to create a Maven project and start working, because that's a necessary thing which you guys need to learn first. So pom.xml file, as name suggests, project object model, is a file or configuration file which is there to manage different aspects of a project. One very aspect of the project is dependency management, which is how you will make use of other libraries or common libraries. So that is what we can use it for. But now, now we are not dealing with any dependency. This is a plain simple project which we have created. There are no dependencies to be added for now, so there is nothing here. All you see here is three or other four important things. One is the group ID, second is the artifact ID, third is the version, and fourth is the properties. Group ID suggests the, you can say, the name of your company, the name of your, or URL or net address or web address of your company. So let's say if this is a Vision IT VIT, we can simply say like this. Okay, this always, artifact ID is always equivalent to the name of the project. So my first Maven project, it has automatically set as my first Maven project. Version is the software version, because no matter what code you are writing, where you're writing, it's always has to be versioned, right? That's how you see WhatsApp version this, and Facebook version this, and there are different versions to your different apps which you have in your system, right? All softwares has a version associated with it. The very first basic version is always by Maven by default is set as 1.0 snapshot. So that's a version. Again, nothing of much importance as at this stage. Fourth thing here is properties, which actually indicates your what kind of JDK version you want to use with this project, because every project can have different requirements. You may need 1.8, may need 15, or you may need 16. Right now I've set as my requirement for this is Java 15. So I've set here is Java 15, because you remember in the very beginning I already said this, that I need JDK, or I need 15. It was automatically selected. So that's why we have Java JDK 15 here. uh, this is pom.xml file. Now for few weeks, I would say, you don't have to do much here, so it will just remain intact as it is. The area of action is this src folder. Src folder represent, this is your src source folder. That's where you need to put your code. That's where you need to write your code. And if you remember, last time we were writing some code inside src. So if you create a plain java or plain java project, you will also see src there, right? So whatever java project you're going to create, there will be a folder name with the indicating the project name. Inside that, there will be a folder called as src. It's definitely going to be there. That is under which you actually write your whole java, or you create your own java class files, and all the source code lives there. But in the case of Maven, there are two more subfolders here. One is your main, and second is your test. So this is again a signature of Maven, which says you have to divide your code and files into different folder structure. That is what Maven says. Maven says if it is a main program, main application, and it is a Java class files, you have to put this inside main and Java. If it is a part of the main program but not a Java file, then you have to put it inside resources. That is any text file, dot properties file, XML files, JSON files, whatever file it is which is not ending with .java and it is part of the main program, goes inside resources. Any file which is ending with .java and dealing with the main program goes inside Java. Main.java. What is test Java? Test Java is a place where your test code resides. So whatever code you want to write, which is a test code, something which is testing the main code, goes inside test Java, right? So ideally, what we are doing is creating a test framework, right? We are creating a test framework. We are going to learn test automation, and as name suggests, it's tests. So whenever we write any test code, it always has to be present inside test Java as per Maven standards. Okay. But for now, not going to make use of it, because whatever I'm going to talk about in during these Java sessions, I'm not going to write any test code. We are going to write some more Java related code, which is not a test code. So I'm can make use of main Java. So that's the reason I'm going to be making whatever class I'm going to make from henceforth. I will be inside main Java, not inside test Java. But the moment we jump into test automation, all our code will start living inside test and Java and not main and Java. So please remember this fact. When the thumb rule is very simple, not thumb rule, it's like the actual requirement of Maven or Maven standards, which is your test code should reside inside test Java, and your main program will reside inside main Java. Okay. Now let's create a class. Okay, so this we already did last time. Again, I'm going to repeating it, but with a few more extra details. And as I said, we don't want a situation where we are creating some abstract classes, some person class, animal class, all those things. I don't want to do that, because I want you guys to understand the context of those classes. So I last time I chose a program for calculator, which gives some context to what we are trying to understand and learn. So the same thing we will do here, but this time we'll try to be more structured. Okay, so the idea is we want to create a calculator program. Now calculator program has few operations. It is made up of operations as well as values. So you need to pass some values to it, right? And those values you need to pass it to your operations, and operation should be performed on those values, and you should get the result, right? That's how a calculator program works. So we are trying to create a calculator program for learning purposes during these exercises. Okay, so to start with it, I'll go and create a package. I'll say com.vit. Okay, what is a package? Nothing but a folder structure, nothing more. Inside this com.vit, I'm going to create some classes. So let's say I'll create my first class. I'll say addition. Now inside this addition, I will create two values. I'll create two things. One is attributes, second is methods. That's what we did last time also. So I'm going to create attribute as private integer a and private integer b. Inside method I'll say public void add, and simply I would say int result, and I will say result is equal to a plus b, and then I'll return the result. Pretty simple program. Let me change the return type. Pretty simple program, isn't it? A class has two variables. This is the variable type, this is the variable type, this is the access modifier. That means no one other than this class can actually access it from outside. That's what private means. The different access modifiers, and we will go into details of all these, what is private, protected, later. But for now, the importance is that you do these things as directed, without worrying too much about what is this and what is that. Try to just follow and simulate. That's the, whenever you want to learn something new, that's the way to go. Without learning why we are doing this and why we are doing that, don't go into details for now. Something like when I teach abcd to a child, he doesn't question why you're asking, why you're making me learn a for apple, b for ball. It doesn't make sense, right? Why I don't want to learn a for apple, b for ball, but still we insist, because it will make sense later, right? That's why I'm saying, don't worry, don't hung up into the ideas of what is this and what is that. Just do as directed for few days, and later it will start making sense automatically. Okay, so just create a class, write private int a, private int b, because a class has two things, attributes and methods. First we are trying to create the attributes, we're trying to write the attributes a and b. Then we are saying I want to add a and b, and I want to return the result. So this is your method. A method returns a integer. If you don't return anything, you say void. If you were returning anything, you will say int, right? Now this method will not execute on its own. I need something so that it executes, right? To do that, first I need to create an object of this class, and then I need to invoke the method on it. So what I'll do, I'll quickly go and create a class. I'll name it as runner, and that's where I'm going to put my method. Its name as public static void main. I think almost everyone must have heard about this method, main method. This is called as main method. This is the method from where the program starts with. If you don't have this method in your project, your program will not run, because to run the program you need a entry point. So public static void main acts as an entry point, so compiler looks for this method. So that's why you need to have it. And inside that, I'm going to create the object of it. How to create an object of a class? You write name of the class, then you write the name of the variable, then you use new keyword, and you end with the same name of the class with the brackets, and ending with a colon. Okay, or sorry, semicolon. Okay, now once you do that, then you can use that variable, or also called as object. This is an object of this class. So that's why I'm saying this is the object of this class. I can create multiple objects of the same class, which will be different altogether and having their own existence. This can also be done if I want to, but I don't want to do it now. So it's simply this object. When I do a dot in it, it gives me the name of the method. If you see add, I'm getting add, isn't it? I can call this method. Now notice, if I do a dot, I'm only seeing add. There are three things to notice. One is I'm getting the method as add here. Second thing here is there are other methods also which I can see: toString, get class, notify. And if I go inside this, I don't see these methods here. The idea is, if I have another method here called as, let's say this, and if I go here, if I go to runner, if I do a dot again, I get both the methods. So idea is, if I'm putting a dot in front of the object name, all the things which is present, all the method which is present here should appear there, right? But how, from where on earth I'm getting these many objects, or sorry, these many methods? That is a discussion for some other day. I'm not going to talk about it now. Just to give you a hint, these are coming from a parent class called as object class. Object class is the parent of all the classes. That's where it's coming from. This is based on a object oriented programming principle called as inheritance, which you're going to see later. But these things are coming from there. Now, second thing to notice is these things are not coming. Why? Because they are marked as private. What if I mark it as public? The moment I mark it as public, that means the moment I do a dot, I'll get this. You see A, previously it wasn't there, but now it is coming there. B is not coming, but if I do this public and I do a dot, I get B as well. Okay. And if I go and change this to private, everything is private, then I will not see anything. Okay, I don't see anything. So that's the use of access modifier, public and private. Okay, so the idea is very simple. You are all the attribute which you're defining at the class level are also called as instance variables. They should be marked as private. No one should have direct access to it. When I say no one, that means no other class should be able to do this and select A and B. It should not be directly accessible. That is a violation of object oriented programming, or rather violation of lot of design structures and patterns. Also violates encapsulation. Okay, so you should not be doing this. It should always be marked as private, and the methods should be public, and only those methods which you actually want to expose. If you don't want to expose a method, mark it as private. Only need to know basis. No need to just by default making it public. By default should be private. Rule is, or rather thumb rule is, by default all the elements inside a class should be marked as private and not public. Only thing which are needed, only those things will be marked as public. In this case, this is needed. That's why I marked this as public. So I will simply say dot add, and that's it, right? But the problem is what it will add, because I'm not passing any value here, right? So there are two ways to pass a value. One, I will simply say int a and int b. When I do that, I don't have to use this because I'm just passing two values to a and b, and I'm just adding them, and it will just add these two values 2 and 3. I'm passing these as an argument, right? Or I can do one more thing. I can actually not do this, or I can just simply create a constructor. What is a constructor? Constructor is a way by which you can initialize the variables of a class. That's what constructor do. So this is a default constructor. I can create a parameterized constructor. That is, I can simply say int a, int b. Then I'll say this dot a is equal to a, and this dot b is equal to b. All right. Now what will happen in the runner? I have to define these things in a different way. So since this constructor doesn't have any this class doesn't have any default constructor, so there is an error in the runner line saying, let's show the error. It is saying cannot be applied to this. That means it's trying to say that it is expecting two integers, because the constructor or parameterized constructor expects two integers, isn't it? So I'll go here and pass those integers. So this is how you can pass the values to a class so that it could initialize the variables or instance variables of the class. Okay, so I'm passing addition 2 3, and then that's it. And I can simply store the result in this variable, and I can print the result, addition result. Okay, so this is one way you can do it, right? This is actually something which we did last time. Now for today I had another plan to extend it, another plan to improve it further. The plan which I also asked for you from you guys, that you please try it at your own end also. That is, what if I want to add three numbers? What if I want to add four numbers, right? Let's say if I want to add three numbers, so what should I do? There are again multiple approaches to do that. One approach is, I will say I'll create a variable. I'll say private int c. Then I will create another parameterized constructor. So I will say like this. This dot c is equal to c. Okay. Uh, Now the thing is, hello, anyone wants to say something? Okay, I am putting everyone on mute again. Okay, right. So this is the one way. Second way, sorry, this is the way by which you can pass multiple arguments, right? So what you see right now is an example of overloading. I'm again assuming you guys have heard about this term called as overloading. Overloading simply means I can have the same name, but I have different number of arguments, and that means they are two different methods. This is called as overloading. Imagine if I do this, it will give me an error. What is the error? Error will be, let me see if you can show you the error. Oops, sorry. Right, so I'm not able to show the exact error. The error here which you see, there is an error which saying that you are trying to write the same method signature uh, multiple times. So there is a duplicacy. So Java compiler doesn't allow duplicacy. That's why there's a concept of overloading which says if the signature is the same, it will throw in compile time error. But if you change the signature, what is the signature? Signature is made up of three things. One is your name of the method, its access modifier, what it is returning, right, which is actually this, and the arguments. There are different kinds of signatures possible. So once in this context, which is constructor, we can only have, because constructor doesn't have any return type, do not have any return type, you notice. All we have is, and name is also has to be same of the class, which is the name of the class, the same name has to be there. So we are going to modify, or we are going to create more arguments so that we can change the signature. So the way we are doing this is you're creating int c, and now it will say, okay, these two are different methods. A compiler will say error gone, I can understand these three are different, these two are different methods or different entities. So this is a constructor which accepts two arguments. This is the constructor which accepts three arguments, right? So if I want to send two, then I will simply say this. If I want to send three arguments, I will say this. Okay, so the idea is when the compiler run this line, it's going to call this method, not this method. It's going to call this method because I am only passing two arguments. But when the compiler calls this line, then execute this line, it's going to call this method because I'm sending what? I'm sending three arguments. So that's how compiler runtime knows which constructor to call or which method to call just based on how much arguments I'm passing. So this is, as I said, is an example of constructor overloading, which is derived from the same concept or as overloading.
Hello,
Yeah.
Akash, can you go to addition.java?
Okay.
Uh, Here you have mentioned this keyword, right? In addition constructor, this
Yes.
dot a equal to a.
Right.
But in the method, you are not mentioned for a plus b actually. How it is
Oh,
differentiating both
here,
of it?
Okay, okay. So I haven't modified this method. The idea is you're saying I'm not using this here. That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
correct,
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
So the idea is there is no contradiction inside this method. Inside this method, A always points to this and B always points to this variable. But here there was a contradiction. That's the reason I had to use this, because I'm passing the name here, int A, int B. When I don't use this, there will be a confusion in readability also, like what I'm trying to do here. If I don't use this, what I'm going to do here, right? So by using this, I am making sure that this value I am allocating with this value, which is this dot b here means this, and b means which I am passing from outside. Why I have to do this? Because I am using the same name. If I'm like confused, use do this. Then there's no need to use any this keyword here. There's absolutely no need to use this. You can just do this.
Okay, yeah, got it, yeah.
Got it, right? So that's the reason I have to use this keyword here. So if I just do this, it's all right. I don't need to do that. That's also will work just fine. All right.
Akash,
Any yeah.
yeah. Can you please enlarge the font size bit
Oh,
again?
my bad.
Bus. Okay, fine, fine.
Okay, okay.
You can do small also. You can,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, okay, okay. All right. Any doubts so far, guys, on what we have been doing? All right. So quickly, I'll show you a pre-created example which I created not during the session, the prior to session, so that I could explain concepts faster. So let me show you that example, and I'll try to explain that example further. There are a lot of things in that example which I want to talk about, and I want you guys to try as well. Where that example is, that I'll show. So that example is placed inside this URL. Okay, so whatever code I write, it's all documented. I don't write code which is only stays with me and then I'm passing it on to you from WhatsApp and all. I always put all the code which we do in the class or before or after the class is always going to be inside a URL, which I'll keep on sharing with you from time to time. So this example which I'm going to show is actually here, and this actually should be your starting points. All the things, all the basics, fundamentals, everything is resides inside this URL. So there are some PPTs here, there are some instructions here, also the how to create a Maven project in Eclipse. So this I've showed you in IntelliJ, but I have documented that the Eclipse part here. So you can get step by step process of how to create with your uh, with a new Maven project. All right, I have provided some details also, what to put for artifact ID, what to put for group ID and all. So all those details you're going to get here. If you're using IntelliJ, then this video is recorded, you can follow the steps, else you can go here and do step by step. Steps are present here for your reference. uh, then the calculator program which we are talking about is also present here. The first program which we created and this enhanced program which we created last week is also present here. So you can go and click on these links and it will take you to the classes which we created last time. Okay, so inside this, if you notice, we have the same thing which we discussed. Not this one actually, the other one. This is something which I'm going to talk about now. So we did discuss about this, if you remember. There was a calculator.java. Here we had this subtraction multiplication program, right? We had this is what we created last time. And then we had used constructor, which I used now, which I use today, right? I'm using constructor to set the values and then creating these behaviors. I did it in a slightly different way today, but the concept is almost the same. I'm passing the arguments from the constructor. But there's another way of doing it, which I'm going to talk about next, and which you also need to try at your in your own machines. But for a reference, like how you will actually refer the work which I've done for you, you have two ways. One, you can directly go to these links, okay, and actually make use of these. You can just click on these links and know the code I have written here and understand, okay, this is what you have done, and etc things, right? That's one way. Second is you can just go and download the whole repository. You can go and click on download zip. So once you download zip, the whole code will come to your system, to your machine, for your reference. Okay. The easiest is, of course, you go here and do it, and go and check these links, check these files for the code. Now let me show this code which I'm talking about. Let me open this. So I think this is it. uh, Let me click on new window. All right. So this is, as I was talking, this is what were trying to do last time. This also we try to do today, but our approach has to be more enhanced. The way we should be doing it, it should be in a more structured way. So for doing that, I have changed the structure of how we are writing this calculator program. First thing I've done is a creation of a class called as abstract class, right? So if you notice, I have a keyword called as abstract in front of a class. It's no big deal. It's plain class file. There's not much difference between an abstract class and normal class. Of course, there's a difference which we're going to talk about later. But for now, keep it as simple. The understanding of this is it's a class, right? I have marked this as abstract, which as of now, it's no need because I don't have any specific abstract class related stuff here. But later we're going to enhance it further. That's the reason I've marked it as abstract for now. So abstract public class, name of the class. Then I have few things here, which is the result. Second is a getter, or sorry, second is a setter method used to set the result variable. Because as I said, the right structure of a class has to be the name of the variable and it should be private, but there has to be some methods also called as getters and setters, which is used to get the value and set the value. That's the usual structure of any class in Java or any other project. So you create a variable, you mark it as private, then you create getter setters to get the values and set the values. In this case, all I have is set result, where I am passing the result and setting the value. Second thing here is show result. So show result here simply means I want to display the result. So set result and show result is actually nothing but your getter and setter in some sense. Getter and setters. So this is where I'm getting the value. From here I'm getting the value. This is from I'm setting the value. Okay. So I have only these two methods inside this abstract base operation class. If you have confusion what this abstract is, just you can just when you try it in your system, you remove this, because as I said, there's nothing much we are doing with abstract keyword here. Later I plan to make use of it to explain some concepts about abstract class, but for you it doesn't make sense, that doesn't make much sense right now, so you can choose to remove it. Okay. Let me change this. All right, next thing here is your addition class. Now this is bit different than what you are used to see till now. Okay, so there's some things, some important things here. First is that I am using a extends keyword, right? And I'm using the name of the class I was talking about previously. So I have addition, extends, and the name of the class which I have created here. Now by using this extends, I'm trying to set a relationship of inheritance. Okay, inheritance says there can be two classes which has the relationship of parent and child. So parent class here is this and child class here is this. That means, as name suggests, parent and child, right? This is parent, this is child. Inheritance simply means whatever belongs to parent, which is these three things, is now belongs to the child. That's the concept of inheritance. It's very simple to understand. Like whatever belongs to your father belongs to you, right? That's the logic of inheritance. Same logic applies here, which is whatever belongs to this class, abstract base operation, the three things, this and this. The moment I write addition extends this class, whatever belongs to this class has now become part of the addition class. That means I can use those elements, methods, as well as uh, variables inside this. Okay. Now second thing to notice here is the way I am passing the argument, right? So previously if you see, I was passing it like this, isn't it? I was passing it like two variables. Now the problem here was, what if I had to add three variables? Then you have to go and add this, and they have to go and create another variable int I2, and then you have to click plus I2. Okay, now problem solved. What if you have to add four variables? 5 variables, 6 variables, right? So you cannot keep on adding more and more methods. So the way I have modified it is by introducing optional parameters. That is, when you write something like this integer, that means it will accept the integers, because anyway you have to write the same thing here. You have to mention the type of the variable. So you can define type of the variable by two ways: either you do this int primitive type, or you write this, which is a class. Both represents almost the same thing functionally, with lot of differences, but you can do it in both the ways. If you want to declare a string, if you want to declare a character, there are two ways: either primitive or the class format. And we are going to talk about it in coming weeks, coming days. But for now you can choose to keep int or capital I integer when you go and create these kind of classes. So I have written here integer, and I have put a variable called as arr, which represents an array. Right? What is an array? Array is nothing but a collection of variables. When you have many variables, guys, give me a minute.